Hi, everybody, and welcome to the ADHD Eavesdrop, where you can be a butterfly on the wall and listen in on my conversations. Today, for the second time, believe it or not, we recorded our entire podcast without recording it. So we are recording it a second time, so we've got everything under control.
That's right. Even better the second time around.
So today with
you
me...
lucky people.
I have my future son-in-law, Jack Kison. If you've been listening to my podcast, you've already heard my daughter. And this is her future husband. Jack is currently working in insurance, which is not his area of choice, but he is doing the adulting thing and got it down. But his love, his passion is acting, directing, all things theater and film. Jack and I have done plays together. I've done a film with Jack. And it has changed our relationship, which we'll talk about a little bit in a while.
For sure.
But also has a highly suspected case of ADHD and autism to go along with it, which would be no surprise to anybody.
Oh, yeah. Lots to go on with that, for sure.
Absolutely. So, welcome, Jack.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me both on the podcast and as a future son-in-law coming here, 2 months? It's going to be awesome. Oh, but yeah, I'm excited. I've been excited to talk about this for a while, just because, as you mentioned, it was very late in life that I was like, oh, this ADHD coaching is really helping.
Honestly, I want to start with what Jack ended with in the last time we tried to record this, because it was so impactful.
Yeah.
I asked you what you wanted to add at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Because it was so good.
Well, thank you. Yes, I believe what I said that I wanted to share with everybody was that I believe whenever you make an honest attempt to understand yourself deeper, you open your perception of the world a little more. It makes you turn this positive corner that just wheels start turning, progress starts being made. It's kind of like a magic almost. It's delightful.
That's awesome. So looking back on your life in suspecting that you have a couple of these issues, autism, ADHD, how do you think those things affected you as you were growing up?
My autism and ADHD mix in there also gave me this really logical mindset and this really strong urge to fit the mold and to achieve in whatever circumstances were given. Because that would then mean that I'm a good person, right?
Oh.
Right. So that helped me to develop a brain that could keep in knowledge and to start learning about my superpowers of kind of being able to remember numbers for a long time and being able to do certain tasks very quickly. It was a very interesting time, this very Wild Westy.
And you told me before that your parents were amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Parent lottery has been won on both sides. Absolutely.
So what did they do with you and your brother that was maybe a little bit different than they would have done with typical?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I don't remember a time where the response to us was, sit down and shut up! It was, and not that my parents were that kind anyway, but I mean, there's a time where that would make total sense. But they came at things from my memory with a much more gentle persuasion, and when you are doing something that's problematic, you go to timeout. There's no get a timeout, mister. You go to timeout.
You made a decision.
Yes.
You go to timeout.
Yes, you made a decision. You broke a rule. You pay the consequence, and then you get out of jail free.
There you go.
That's the process, and just the way they were able to approach that, I think was very much due to them also having a realization of that there is a thing that is not considered normal.
And you don't have an official diagnosis of ADHD. However, we would all agree that you have quite a few of the symptoms.
There are quite a few health professionals which would say that I am pretty well along the path.
My 30 years of experience tell me it's possible that you might have some ADHD.
Just a little bit. The 11 years of watching me forget things and try to figure out what I'm doing with myself.
So that leads me to an interesting question that you're going to have a neurodivergent child, most likely. We hope, because we don't think a neurotypical kid will do well.
Yeah, no, if we're gonna set good examples, it would be much easier to be the same example.
Right, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. So when you think about approaching that with a youngster of your own, and we're hoping that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Eventually, no hurry, but we like that. What do you think you will do if you realize that your children do have neurodiversity?
Oh, I'll sing from the rooftops, shout it to the world. Now, I'm really excited about that, and I know that that excitement is a little weighed with the fact that there is a lot of information that will need to be learned and a lot of responsibility that'll need to be taken to best facilitate their lives. But I'm really excited because I remember a lot of things as a kid that I look back on and I realize, oh, this was because of my neurospicy mindset that I had so much fun with this thing. So chocolate milk, sword fighting, these are things that have been with me forever. And I think that's because my autistic side of my brain has chosen to latch onto that and keep it as a little nugget of just, I like this.
Yes.
So,
which is different with the ADHD, which I know you also struggle with, because you have those couple of things that you're like, this is life. Chocolate milk is life.
Chocolate milk is life. Sword fighting is life.
Sword fighting is life. But whittling is something that may come and go.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Woodworking may be something that may come and go. And
like an old friend.
As we've said before, we're both hobby hoarders,
Yep.
and we've got the trail of hobbies behind us.
Oh, yes, bodies along the path, among the fallen.
Yes, but I don't think really, I think of my path when it comes to my hobbies as being sort of circular, because I come back to them.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I cycle through them, and you had mentioned it.
Yeah.
The guilt of giving up.
Yes. Oh, it's so
hobby.
crushing. Yeah,
and
especially when you put so much time into learning a skill and you get the materials and you do the first project, and then I always hit this place where it's I've started the second project and I've been more ambitious than I should have been. I hit the moment where it's all right, now I need to really learn about this thing. I set it down. I forget about it for 2 years. I come back to it. And I'm oh, I have to learn more about this to get back to it. So I do another of the first stage.
Absolutely. And understanding that. That.
It's okay.
And so I know that you have been in coaching with a colleague of mine, Pete.
Yep, Pete. Yep.
And you've talked to me a little bit about what you and Pete talked about with this exact topic.
Yes.
Can you share that?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Well, and the whole ADHD coaching process so far has been just nothing but positive. Really wonderful shifts in how I perceive life, how I go about life. But yeah, there's absolutely a point where I was talking with Pete about feeling guilty that I leave these things behind. Because at the time I was going to pursue being a drone pilot, which I did. I went and got my license, got a drone, did the whole thing. I'm legal now, woohoo. But the guilt that came along with that is oh, so is that going to be your life thing now? Have you put in the effort to find the thing that's going to make you money and get you set for success and because you put in this time and money, right? And no, it's just something that you do for fun, to learn and grow and be a person and enjoy your life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And because I remember feeling great guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, spending a bunch of money on a new hobby and then putting it away. And so I was talking, we got around to in our last interview about the fact that there are seasons.
Yes.
Seasons for hobbies.
Absolutely.
And
knitting is a fall hobby.
Yeah, fall and winter hobby, or sewing quilts for me is very much a fall and winter hobby.
Yeah.
Where obviously golfing is going to be a summer hobby,
yes,
right?
for sure. Or spring, yeah.
But woodworking might be a feel like a summer hobby, even though you could do it in the winter, right?
Right.
But it feels like a summer hobby.
It does. It feels like sitting around the campfire and just like
Yeah,
stroking off these
sure.
pieces of wood.
And so the idea of having seasons for your hobbies then also gives you the freedom to put the other hobbies down.
Yes, it gives you the out to be like, okay, this one's time is done.
Yes,
I have
because-
achieved what I wanted from this.
And we got the novelty,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
'Cause
there's
we
this new
have to
thing.
have that novelty.
Oh, next
right?
week I'm starting like the patchwork, oh, come on now. Anyway.
Leatherworking?
No, like the needlework, like the pin.
Embroidery?
Yes, embroidery. That's
I
the
brought
one.
my embroidery stuff
Nice.
this week.
There you go. Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No,
there.
that's okay.
Oof.
And-
Words hide from me.
And I don't know if for you it's this way, but if something sparks my interest a little bit, it could be completely like I could see a leaf that I thought was a really cool leaf, and then I
Yeah.
would look at the leaf and I would find out what kind of tree it belongs to, and then next thing you know I'd be looking up the tree and is it native, and I just fall down this rabbit hole. It doesn't take much
No, not at
to
all.
get you started
Yeah.
on one, and then the next thing you know, I'm collecting leaves. Right, this is
Yep.
my new hobby. I'm collecting leaves, and
Yep,
I'm
put
learning
'em in the
about
book.
trees and all this other
Great
stuff.
fall hobby.
Great fall hobby, great spring, summer hobby. We want the
Yes.
green ones, all the things. But then, when I've collected most of the leaves around my house, and I would have to travel,
Yeah, like, oh, the next one's 2.5 hours away. Like, ugh.
right?
Woof.
And the
The-
novelty is worn off, and
Yeah.
then the leaves get shoved aside.
The
But then you
joy
go on a
to work
camping
ratio.
trip, like 3 years later,
Yeah.
in a different place than you normally would camp, and you find new leaves,
Yes.
and the novelty is back.
Yep. And you're like, oh, I have this binder. You go and get it and you bring it back out.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, they wait for you. That's the beautiful thing is like
They're
those
still
skills
there.
are in there.
They're still there.
Yeah.
I didn't
The pursuit
draw
of
for-
knowledge is never forsaken. Like, it's
No.
always a good thing.
And I put down drawing for a good 10 years.
Yeah.
And then now I've been drawing like a maniac
yeah.
for the last 3 months.
They look awesome.
And a lot of that is like superpower stuff. Like that's
Yes.
the good stuff, right? The creativity, being
Yeah.
able to see.
The
things that
energy
other-
itself.
Yes.
That you're just like, go, you're ready for it.
Yeah, but I'm not motivated to clean my house.
Yeah, right?
Right, but
If only.
I am motivated to scan a beach for a rock.
Yeah.
for
Oh,
hours,
for
right?
sure. I've had a fun mental process recently of considering joy as more of a fluid, where like you can enjoy multiple different parts of a process, and it doesn't have to be, oh, I enjoy woodworking. It could be, oh, I enjoy this part of woodworking. Like there's so many different places you can find joy and so much movement that really the only cure is to have a constant ability to be just a little self-aware, a little knowledge of which direction you go in, just knowing yourself, knowing what you like.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I love you learn something new with every hobby that you
Yes.
do about yourself. But the whole idea, like ADHD people, and I've got a video out there that I will put in the little thing for you, about the fact that about the fact that we view everything as a whole.
Yes, yeah, you see the whole picture at once,
Whole picture at once, right? And you don't.
which is a superpower.
It is, like a lot of people cannot see the whole picture at
Yeah,
once.
well, especially in like emergency situations, you know what to do.
Yeah,
'Cause you see
we
the
are
whole
Johnny on the
situation.
spot in
Yes.
emergency situations. But breaking it down into little pieces and recognize that there are pieces in there that you really enjoy and pieces that you don't.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the whole process. I know, like with quilting, a lot of ladies only make their toppers and they don't do
Yep.
any of the quilting, they don't do any of the binding, they don't do any of that, right? Some ladies just love to bind.
Yeah.
Right? I like to bind. I think, anybody needs somebody to bind something for you.
Right.
But, yeah, so it's like finding those things in there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and taking your joy from it as well. Like that's for me, for the sword fighting stuff. I haven't sword fought with a group that I used to in like 6 years or something crazy like that. But I just do it for myself now.
Yeah, well, and you
I've been
choreograph
busy.
a lot with it.
Yeah, it's
and-
true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And still very much a good skill to have on standby. But like, definitely not, you're giving your all to this because that's what you have to do if you learn a new thing. Like,
Right.
no.
Exactly.
Just like it how you do.
And that's the extremes
Mm-hmm.
of autism and ADHD
Yes.
is that inability to see the gray area
Yeah.
in between and be okay in the gray area. Because you might
Yes.
see the gray area and observe it from a distance and say, wow, it's really nice that they can,
Right.
exist in that
Must be
gray
nice for
area.
them.
But,
Right.
I'll die, because
Yeah.
that's like the ground is lava.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, and that was a big thing for me as a kid, was like, I needed to know the answer. There had to be an answer.
Right.
Like, and now, again, long journey, but now I'm a cool boy in the gray zone. It's like
There you
everything is contextual.
Well, and to be completely candid, when he says I used to be and I am now, Jack's not kidding.
Yeah.
He's, He's had a metamorphosis over the last at least 11 years that I've known him. To be honest, Jack and I didn't completely see eye to eye at first. And
I was masking so much. I was
and that
high
was
school angsty.
Just the problem was I never felt like I knew Jack. And because he was a master masker.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
But the problem was, when I say you're a master masker, on the one hand you are, but on the other hand you weren't very good at it because I knew you were doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Which is the worst part, where you're like, hey, you really don't have to do this. I'm like, I know.
I know. Thanks again. Thank you again.
Thank you
again.
Yeah, for sure. And it was really interesting, too, learning how much of that was like learned from the household, how much of that was coming from like and just within myself with the autism and ADHD, and how much of it was like learning how other families, are organized. Like, it was a very fun process to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, I'm pretty blunt.
Which is for the best.
Yeah. So but Jack and I were very honest about it. And then the most amazing thing happened. We were in a production of Hamlet together.
Yes, so delightful. I wish it happened sooner.
Jack was a director. And so I got to act under Jack as my director, and we actually got to act a scene together. If you guys have ever seen Hamlet or know the story of Hamlet, there's a play within the play that we just completely slaughtered the king and queen scene because we couldn't play it seriously because I could not play a romantic scene with my future son-in-law.
Right.
So we played it upstaging each other, and it's a lot of fun. And if I can find a clip, maybe I'll put it up for my subscribers.
Do. Absolutely. Well, that was so much fun.
So when we did this scene together, and I got a chance to see Jack in his director role and see him around his peers and have me be part of his peers, I started to finally see the real Jack. And
he comes out every once in a while, much more now.
It was a delight to finally feel a connection with him, and it was a delight to watch him finally drop the mask.
Yeah. And again, that's why my single regret is that it didn't happen sooner.
Right.
But also, I'm glad we could go into it with as much skill and as much ability as we did, because that was me and my best friend Jacob, who went to the same acting program as I did, and Savannah, who had run productions with me a bunch of different times, and Kelsey. And we were just very well prepared to facilitate a really positive process that I could be myself in. Like, it was a two-way street where the people who were involved were trustworthy and skilled enough to where I could just be my full self. Those are rare.
Yeah. And I will tell you, that was the first time I'd ever done Shakespeare in my entire life. And it was fun.
It was so much fun.
But so hard to memorize lines. That's all I listened to for weeks in my car.
Yep.
Just random lines.
Well, and that's one of those weird one-stick superpowers, is being able to just, like, lines just kind of glom into my brain.
Nice.
That's, I don't know how it works for me with Shakespeare, but it just kind of does. And it's been harder, for sure, but it was one of those things that was always in my toolbox.
Yeah.
This is, again, the thing I love about working with, like, ADHD artists and, like, just artists that are on the spectrum, is, like, there's so much energy and fun and creativity that goes into like a very simple premise. Like we were all the thought was, oh, we are acting in front of the king and the queen. We have to outact the other person to be seen by the king and queen. And it just led to so much. This is awesome.
There were broken fans.
Yeah.
They were just,
It
was chaos. It turned out great.
Oh, it was fantastic.
So yeah, and then since then I've acted in a film that Jack produced.
Yeah, Missing Persons.
Missing Persons, that's
Yeah,
right.
fair.
And that was a lot of fun, and I was in that with my daughter Savannah and Jack and some of their friends that I know. Funny thing is my daughter and I both ended up in a trunk
Yeah, that's
during
right.
this particular film. But that's one of the joys you will find on a film set
Oh,
or
yeah.
on a stage set, that there is a higher proportion of neurospicy folk
Yes.
there.
Oh, yeah.
than you find like in your general population. Like you go to an accounting
No. Right.
conference, you're not going to run into that same group of people.
Not so much.
Not so
no.
much. But it's because of the creativity and the drive for excitement and
Yeah.
interest and novelty.
Well,
and
and the unity as well of like, hey, we're gonna go and make this thing.
yes,
Like
yes,
that's
creating something.
yes,
right?
it's so creating something is the best.
It
That's,
is. It absolutely
Yeah.
is. But until you have to create a second one.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've already created the first one, and so
Right.
now it's not as exciting anymore.
Right.
No.
Right. Well, and that's totally. I mean, as a kid, that making films was how I knew how to make friends. So, and it was the only way I knew how to make friends.
So you made a lot of films.
I made a lot of films every time in school when they were like, "Hey, there's the option for a movie for this." I'm like, "Oh, perfect." And I just love that as my life has progressed, it's come to a point of doing it to create a really wonderful experience with a bunch of people that I love and a bunch of people that are just absolute delights to work with. Like,
Well, and there's something to be said about getting the energy of, a good 5 to 10 ADHD folks together, trying to create something that other people will like. But really, it's more about having fun.
yes, 100%. Well, and the other, because again, that superpower comes into play where you see the whole picture at once, and like the ultimate benefit of that is like, oh hey, they weren't wearing glasses. Oh hey, this prop was in a different spot. Oh hey, we can see your equipment backpack in the background.
So that's it, that remembering details and seeing details.
I don't have that sight. That's the part that I miss in my mix.
And I tend to see those little details and be like, she's wearing a different color
Yes.
lipstick or whatever. But yeah, so it creates a different challenge, but it's a great place to find a group of neurodivergent people. Makes me think about like the whole idea of what kind of jobs people with ADHD are kind of drawn to
Totally.
because of needing that constant change.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
And I know that you have gone through a few jobs.
Oh, plenty. Yeah.
And not all of them I don't think you left them based out of boredom necessarily.
No. A lot of it was just life switching. Like, we moved to Chicago and we moved to a different apartment at one point. We've been on the move for quite a bit.
Yeah, you've been
But-
stable for very short periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a very specific moment where I had started working in insurance in Chicago out of necessity. A year passed, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So I worked for the harbor it was my job to pump waste from people's yachts and go around on this little like tugboat with
And
my
you
friend
loved that
Frank.
job, didn't you?
It was the best job. It may be tied for first job, which was being a summer teacher for the CAMC. Yeah. But it was a delightful change of pace. It kept me like motivated and having fun, and I have next to no sense of smell anyway, so it was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
But then my old boss offered me a raise and full remote, and I was like, okay, all right, I see it. I'll go.
overestimate what I'm capable of.
Do you feel that?
I could do this job for 10 years.
Right, yeah, yes.
And then
I'll
10
stick
months
with this.
later, you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Yes. Oh, well, that was, again, me in the news. I was there for almost a year, and near the end of that time, it was just being so close in proximity to the news cycle, just the daily things that are bad are happening. I had to get out. It was rough.
Yes, and now you're working insurance again.
Until the next thing that hopefully will be
Yes.
better. I'm looking for work in colleges so I can work
Yes.
on my own master's.
Oh, yeah, and speaking of college, a great question that I had for you was,
Yeah.
how do you think college would have been different for you or more difficult to manage if you had chosen, rather than acting to be your major, a more traditional route?
It would have been so different. Like, I look back now on a lot of, again, that impulsivity and that need for new and interesting things, and I absolutely see where if I had pursued my first, like, neural prosthetics was what I wanted to pursue at first, I would have been out of there very quickly. I would bounce to a bunch of different majors, and the acting degree was so good for me because it was what I needed. And what I needed was to learn how to regulate my emotions and how to see other people fully and how to have a wider understanding of what I as a person am bringing in my entirety is affecting the world around me and vice versa.
Well, and I know, I mean, we've talked about how acting can be a really good place for people with ADHD because it's always something new, something exciting. I guess maybe Broadway might get boring because you do the same thing every night, but
Right.
it might not. I don't know.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of discourse about keeping a role interesting that you've been in for a long time.
It seems like it gets stale.
It would be really hard. Yeah, that's why I like TV shows because it's the same character, but you kind of take them on a journey.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, like, to be honest with you, there are some things about theater that I really like, but when I'd never been on a film set until this last film. And, you know, guys, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I get a text from Jack saying, hey, would you be interested in playing this part?
Hey, can you please bail us out?
And then the next thing I know, like, I'm getting a phone call, and when are we meeting? And we're doing this. And so apparently...
Congrats, you have things 2 times a week now. Until
Right.
Congrats, you have obligations. Thank you.
But me being Johnny on the spot was like, yes.
Oh, you saved our asses. I saved our butts. Oh, man.
But that's kind of another one of those flying by the seat of your pants kind of thing. It's like, we'll find somebody.
Yes. There's duct tape somewhere.
Absolutely. I think, oh my gosh, I really do believe that people with ADHD are awesome at finding duct tape.
Yes. Oh, 100%. That is the solution mindset to a T, is having that view of the big picture, attention to details, the creativity and energy to seek out solutions. That's, I mean, again, a big part of why I love working with a neurospicy cast and crew.
Absolutely. And I always feel sorry for the neurotypical folks who are floating around on there.
Right? You're like, oh man, they're kind of hanging out on their phone. And I'm like, yeah, I'm so sorry.
So I'm curious. You are marrying into a family. Everybody in the family has ADHD. Do you feel that that's a benefit or a drawback of coming into a family?
Oh, man. I think it's a benefit. I think overall it's a benefit because unless it's like oil and water,
right?
Where you because sometimes you do just have these two neurospicy mindsets that just the way they process information just does not click. But in our case, it was a huge benefit because I could immediately see how you all interacted and what excited you and what you would use to communicate. Like, it was really helpful because I imagine, not that I would know, that a neurotypical family, I feel like
they wouldn't be near as much fun.
Yes. It's the difference between having a china teapot just on its own and then a broken china teapot that's had the little gold work done that kind of attaches all the pieces together. Like, you get you do connect, you do on either way, but the path you take to connect is so beautiful in this other territory. That just, it's fun.
I love it.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
great.
when it works out for the best, it's fun.
Well, yeah, right.
Right.
Now, Jack has also had to learn over the last years that our Van Stee family tradition is to have camping trips every year, and that Van Stee family camping trips are full of mishaps.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God.
always
Ooh.
Mishaps. And don't ever expect to go on a vacation with our family and have everything go right.
Yeah. No. There's at least one car problem every year.
Absolutely. This year the brakes went out on the truck on the way up here.
I'm still knocking wood. I don't know when it's going to start happening to us, but Savannah and I so far
I'm hoping you get
have
the
been pretty
Kison
smooth.
luck.
I hope so. I mean, I'm a lucky dude, really.
You really are. I mean, look, you
right.
inherited
Here
our
I
family,
am.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the greatest luck I've gotten.
So, time for the ultimate question, which
Yep.
is ADHD in relationships.
Yeah.
Which I hit on in many places on my YouTube channel. I put a couple of links for you guys in my details, but ADHD can wreak havoc on relationships.
Oh,
and
for sure.
So can autism.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys both have a conglomeration of neurospicy. And, my husband also has ADHD, so our whole family has neurospicy. What challenges have you experienced because of your ADHD in your relationship?
Oh yeah. Well, it's been very interesting. I mean, it's been 11 years.
It's been what? It's been a minute.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with each new year, there's like a new set of responsibilities and catching up to them, and learning how to do that together. The beautiful part of it is that Savannah and I have been together for so long that we've discovered where her ADHD ends off and where my autism begins, and vice versa. So we were able to fill in the gaps quite a bit. Like a good example, if I need her to remember something, I will make sure it is in one of the most clearly visible surfaces on the route that I know she's going to take that day. Because convenience is king. Mm-hmm. And like that's a huge thing that Pete taught me. That was just life-changing. Like if you leave your walking shoes and your walking stick by the door, you will walk more. Mm-hmm. Instead of in the closet, behind a box, all stored away. Now, Savannah, with her ADHD, she can see the full picture, so she knows here's everything we have to do. And now my autism works like horse blinders, where I'm like, this is the one thing we do now, and this is what I'm going to do, this one thing. And
consists of 62 parts, but
right.
It's one thing.
Right. Well, and then it's funny when the coin will flip as well, because now Savannah's got this big list of everything that needs to be done, but has difficulty initiating a task, whereas now that I've got my horse blinders on, I just move on to the next item on the list and the next item on the list. But we are so good now at trading off when those moments happen that it's become a really good system. Like we know that she doesn't like to cook, I like to cook. I don't like to fold laundry, she likes to fold laundry. Like we figure out these balances. That's just been really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It did cause some issues at first, though. You really had some stuff that you had to work out and work through.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think a lot of it, too, because we were long distance for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
We'd only see each other once a week. Up until I graduated college. And then we finally got to live together. And yeah, that was absolutely a learning situation. I'm just thankful I'm not the kind of person to like sit back. I'm usually like, what can I help with?
So I'm assuming that you would say that communication has been a big portion of
everything. That's, and with each new stage of life and each like version of each other that we meet, because it is a new version every year, every half year, that we get to meet and fall in love with again and just learn how to work with.
I always preach in any relationship, neurospicy, not neurospicy, any relationship, communication is key. Honest communication.
Yeah, and when you have honest communication, you can have a solution that the only limiter on it is your creativity.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jack, we have covered a lot today, twice, because, we can't ever do anything. Well, the first one was just a rehearsal.
That's right.
There
Exactly.
There we
this
go.
one was way superior.
Way better. I want to thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight.
So glad that you came on. I'm hoping you'll come back again sometime.
Oh, that would be
and see
lovely.
us.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty and your candor. Sometimes it's hard to talk about those things.
It can be, but it's delightful to share them too.
So, Jack,
yes.
If the audience enjoyed our content and enjoyed our interview today, what should they do?
Oh, they should smash that like button into the ground. Make one of those Wile E. Coyote indents. Just drop it from a cliff.
The subscribe button. What should they do
the subscribe button. It would be illegal for me to say on there. But smash it, hit it.
Do whatever you want,
Yes.
but hit it, And we'll see you next time.